Welcome into 3 and Out. I'm Matt Boyer for Broncos TV, and as we do every week, we are taking a look back at the previous game, as hard as that might be against the Chiefs. We're looking at the best plays from that game. We're also taking a look at the big topics of the week for this week, and we'll look ahead to Sunday's big matchup on the road against the Philadelphia Eagles. So let's get right to it.
One touchdown, their last 13 red zone trips, and now another. Booker with a nice hole opened by that offensive line. It is a one-score game.
Time now for First Down, taking a look at the best play or plays from the previous week. Ben Swanson joins me now. And Ben, I know when there's a loss, it's hard to take, the positives or look at the good plays. However, there were some positive moments, one of which coming from Devontae Booker.
Sure, I've really enjoyed watching this 26-yard run he had in the third quarter. Trevor Siemian starts it off by audibling to a draw play to the left after he sees the strong side of the defense overload with 4 guys at the center or further to the right. They pull Ron Leary. Alan Barber goes up and gets to the second level. Leary clears out the backside, and Booker just scampers through the hole, makes a big gain, and gets really physical at the end of it to kind of extend the play a little bit longer.
When you see Booker and where he falls in this lineup of Broncos running backs, you got C.J. Anderson, Jamal Charles played well, did have the fumble against Kansas City, but started off very nicely. When you see where Booker falls, how does he fit for the rest of the season going forward?
Well, I think this game kind of provided a model. Everyone ran really well, and fumble aside, they had a really good kind of lineup, and everyone stayed pretty fresh, and I think you saw the results of that as a very efficient running game. Booker is going to be tough for him to kind of break into that lineup. He had 6 carries, I believe, this last game. But if he keeps averaging like 7 yards a carry, then he could get a few more in there, and they don't have to stop using one back. They could just keep using multiple of them, keep them all fresh, and then you have a running game that really can dice people up.
We got to turn it around somehow, man. I don't know how we got to do it. We got to do it some way. Back in the lab, man. Get to work, man. Hope we can beat Philly.
Time for Second Down, the big headline of the week. Phil Milani joins me now. And Phil, coming into this week, I know a lot of people have talked about the defense versus the offense. They want to create this type of narrative, offense versus defense, because the defense played well enough to win the game, according to Vance Joseph. Offense struggled. What kind of atmosphere did you see in the locker room following Monday's game?
Well, you talked to a couple of the guys like Chris Harris Jr. after the game, clearly upset, saying, hey, the offense needs to score some points, I think is what he said. And I think it's just sort of frustrations, boiling over at this point, because Vance Joseph said it after the game. He said, this is the 3rd game in a row that they've lost, almost the same exact way with some mistakes on the offensive side of the ball. And one of the things that we really like about Vance Joseph is his brutal honesty, and he does that with the media. On Monday, he said, hey, it doesn't bother me that some of these defensive guys are frustrated. They should be frustrated because the expectation around here is to win games. And when the defense feels like they're playing well enough to win those games, they should be frustrated. And I think the offense gets the message. What's important is that it doesn't create a divide.
Do you see, when you look at this locker room, do you see the potential for that, or do you see the leadership coming from guys like Von Miller, Chris Harris, to the point where this isn't going to be an issue as far as division is concerned?
Yeah, I think that there's enough leaders on both sides of the ball. Von Miller definitely is one of those guys who he's mature enough now at this point in his career where he takes I'll look in the mirror first kind of approach, and you can hear that when he comes to the podium after the games. And then on the other side of the ball, a guy like Demaryius Thomas has taken on more of a leadership role this year. It's going to be imperative that both sides work together. It's a team sport, so you got to win on both sides of the ball.
From the 44 on first down, Wentz throws, it's caught. It's Hollins again.
Time for Third Down now. Eric DeLalla joins me now. Eric, as we do every week, Third Down, previewing the next game. This week, it's Philadelphia on the road. This is a team record-wise that has been the best in the NFL. What have you seen that's allowed them to have so much success?
Yeah, 7-1, just coming off a 33-10 beatdown of the 49ers. They look very impressive. Part of it is fortunate scheduling, you could say. This is the 3rd of 3 straight home games they have, and then they head into a bye, a really nicely timed bye. Something else that I think is important is they boosted their weaknesses. So they just got Jay Ajayi after the trade deadline. He's going to partner with LeGarrette Blount to be a really effective guy for them in their running attack. They play really, really good rush defense. They're 3rd in the league in that. Their passing defense is a little suspect. They're 29th, and if the Broncos are going to find a way to attack them, that's where they're going to do it. It's not necessarily going to be easy. The Chiefs were 30th in pass defense, and we kind of saw how that went last night. But that's the opportunity for the Broncos.
When you look at the Eagles, rather, you see Carson Wentz, an MVP type candidate, having a great year. What does he do well, and how does he match up with the Broncos?
Yeah, the second-year player, he's really impressed people. An MVP candidate right now that's being mentioned right side along Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers before he got hurt. That type of player. He's second in touchdowns, second in yards, has a quarterback rating of above 100. So he's finding ways to make plays. Somewhere where I think the Broncos can capitalize is that he's only 25th in completion percentage. And so if the Broncos can force him into some incompletions, get him into those long third downs, and be able to make him be accurate, and instead of beating them with big plays, march down the field, that's where I think they may be able to get him out of his comfort zone.
That'll do it for 3 and Out. Special thanks to Austin Brink and Aaron Gunning behind the camera, as well as Phil Milani, Eric Dalala, and Ben Swanson. I'm Matt Boyer. We will see you next week on 3 and Out.